I'll send you a link later. But that's just some music from Ludwig had it commissioned by a Japanese band, I believe. It's called Midnight Ride. And it's by the band Dimension. Here you go. I'll give you that. There we are. Alrighty. Skipping over Alien for now, because I have someone else who'd like to see it. But we're gonna finish the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles case number 4, probably. Who knows, it might be another 7 hours long. Probably not. So when we left off, we were about to start the cross-examination of this fine couple who had, well, they weren't doing too well together. They had a little bit of a scuffle, a little bit of a fight. And, you know, we're expected to deal with it, I guess. I'm just going to swap something over here really quickly. Won't be a moment. Okay. Let's get to it. The Battle of Garadeb. Yes, on the day you're referring to, the wife and I did have a bit of a skirmish. Can't recall the reason now. Knocked the candlestick over and set fire to the carpet. Soon had it out though and got the window open. Meanwhile, I was picking up whatever I could find to throw at him. Plenty of knives around our place. Can't say I'd notice if one or two went missing, I'm afraid. If that bally thing in the victim's back really was one of ours, you'd have a job proving it, I think. Alrighty. Sounds as though it was quite the battlefield in your household that evening. Although an entirely one-sided assault, it seems. The enemy caught us on the hop, sir. Had no choice but to dig in and take defensive measures. To be honest, if the enemy had kept shelling us for another minute, we'd have been toast. Of course, a veteran such as myself is only too aware that on every battlefield you're just a gnat's whisker from death at any moment. Are we still talking about a marital quarrel here? Whoa. I must say I'm dubious that this testimony will shed any light on the origins of this jackknife. On the struggle bus. How do I do this? I'll work out how to do it some other time. No big deal. Alright. Dubious that this testimony will shed light on the origins of this jackknife. In combat, one's focus narrows such that surroundings are barely noticed. These witnesses may not be able to offer anything more than they have already testified. This may be a dead end. Ben Ziggs may well be right. Well, whatever the chances. We only have this last cross-examination to uncover the truth, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, I'm afraid so. Very well, counsel. Begin your cross-examination.
I will gladly. Cross-examination! The Battle of Gyarados. Okay. So the reason was, in a secondhand book of his, there was a love letter to someone under a completely different name from him. Let's see if we can remind him. The reason is what you told us yesterday, I believe. That's right, if I remember correctly. It all started because of a note that was tucked into the pages of a book belonging to Mr. Gyarados. A rather passionate note, in fact. But Mrs. Gyarados found the note, discovering her husband's little secret. And she gave him a mighty number of slaps across the face for it, too.
What a sordid state of affairs. Hell on earth. I say, when a chap says he can't recall such things, it's common decency not to drag it all up. Besides, half of it was wide of the mark anyway. A likely story. These waters run very deep. And what transpired next after these multiple blows to the face? Knocked the candlestick over and set fire to the carpet. Soon had it out though and got the window open.
Hold it!
He did open the window. And the fire also spread to some items of furniture, didn't it? The bookcase, my armchair, anything of mine, really. Just so happens there was some bath water around that evening, so I sloshed that about to put it out. The most precarious situation you put yourself in. Ours is a 3-story townhouse on the west side of the street, where the water main isn't connected yet. Had to draw water from a public water pump during the day if you need any, you see? The lodgers are always moaning that they can't get any water in there. Although, that little mustached Japanese man buys water in bottles, I believe. The defendant, Mr. Natsume, you mean? Yes, he receives a stipend for his studies, you know, from his home country. Can you imagine being able to brew a pot of tea at all hours? He's obviously very well off. Have you actually seen the state of the man? I believe he uses all of his income to buy books. Well, anyway, the point is, I was able to douse the fire with water, fortunately enough. Meanwhile, I was picking up whatever I could find to throw at him.
Hold it! Tell me more! Like knives?
Even though the room was on fire? As far as I was concerned at the time. It was more important to extinguish my anger than the flames. When a woman wants to throw, she must throw. That is most certainly not true of a Susato takedown, Mr. Naruhodo. How did you know I was thinking that? So, please cast your mind back and try to remember. Was a knife among the items that you threw at your husband that day? In all honesty, I don't recall, but I feel I must point out that I'm no monster. Let me see. Some bread, a cabbage, garlic, a towel, and a sponge, a napkin. Something to say?
Excuse me!
Do you have something to add, sir? Mr. Gyarados. Don't shoot! Sorry, I beg your pardon? Did your wife's remark just now bring something to mind? Nothing of any significance, no. Just that the barrage of projectiles the old thing launched in my direction was somewhat more solid than she implies. Books, bricks, and the fire poker, as I seem to recall. Ow. And the woman's aim is uncanny. She landed a direct hit with every volley. Ah! Good grief, woman, we're not at home now. This is a court of law. Oh, dearie me. Ever so sorry, dear. What's she even doing with a teapot in here? Honestly, John, I would never have thrown such things at you, obviously. Well, take a look at this then. How do you suppose that happened then, Your pipe, sir. Had this thing in my hand as usual at the time of the onslaught. Knocked it clean out with one of her soft projectiles she did. Yes. And when I went to pick the thing up, it was broken in two. I'd like to see a sponge do that sort of damage.
I see. Your pipe was broken.
It would never have been sent flying unless it was hit by something pretty solid. Anyway, I've managed to bandage the thing up for now.
You are one to exaggerate, aren't you, dear? I wonder what we should make of this account.
Could be important.
The defense believes Mr. Garadev's remarks just now add up to be of great significance.
Objection! This war veteran's words only tell us one thing. Betray a fiery wife, and pipes, as well as hearts, may be broken. Sentimental wisdom, perhaps, but hardly worthy of adding to the formal testimony. Indeed. Common sense, one might say.
Might one? In that case, would you at least permit us to examine the pipe, sir?
Well, I don't see why not.
Oh, dearie me. There you go again, trying to ingratiate yourself with a young lady. Eventually.
Very well. The court will accept the gentleman's pipe as evidence.
The pipe has been entered into the court record. I hope I didn't speak out of turn, Mr. Nutterhoder. I was just feeling rather disappointed for you that your request was turned down. No, it's fine. Thanks to Susato-san, we have some new evidence to work with. We should examine it carefully.
Well, thank you for that rebuttal, Mr. Garadev. Now, if we can return to the crux of the matter. What could you tell the court about the knife used to attack the victim?
Let's have a look at this court record. This pipe.
Oh.
Oh, something just twinkled inside the chamber of the pipe there. Yes, I saw it. Something's stuck in there, I think. Let's turn it over and give it a shake. What's this? It's a tiny fragment of metal. It's a bit of a knife. Looks like the tip of a blade or something. Tip of a blade? Surely it couldn't be. But the kniff. The kniff did not miss a bit of kniff. It looks to be in a sorry state with that bandage around it, doesn't it? But for some reason it feels slightly ominous to me. Like it's trying to shout out a warning. Probably because it's the same blue as Mr. Garadev's dressing gown. I suppose it must have some considerable sentimental value to Mr. Garadev, given that he's gone to the trouble of repairing it like this. Either that, or he can't afford to replace it.
Getting optical illusion for a bit.
Oh, it is missing a bit. I didn't realize. I just thought that's how it looked. Look here, Mr. Nutterhoder. Just at the tip. A small piece of the blade appears to be missing. Wait, part of it's missing? I could be wrong, but I've just got a feeling. You remember this? That's the tiny fragment of metal that we found inside Mr. Garadev's pipe. Yes, and just maybe. Oh my, it's a perfect fit. Somehow, I just knew it. Okay. If that bully thing in the victim's back really was one of ours, you'd have a job proving it, I think. I won't, because I've proved it.
Objection!
Mr. Garadeb, could I ask you to take a good look at this, please?
You can ask, but I can't see a bully thing.
You can't?
Used to call me Dead-Eyed Deb back in the regiment, of course. But that was some time ago now. Even when I'm trying to enjoy a large print book by the fire these days. I struggle to tell a B from a D and a P from a Q, to be honest.
Oh, he does. Dearie me. It's rather wearing being asked about every other letter and every other word.
You must be very dizzy.
What is that? A tiny scrap of metal? Yes, almost certainly from the tip of a blade. And what may appear at first to be just a tiny scrap is in fact a crucial piece of evidence.
Interesting. And where did the defense come by this evidence?
It was lodged in the chamber of Mr. Garadeb's pipe.
My pipe, you say? By Jove, I wonder how that got there. And what precisely does this fragment of metal signify, Counsel? Are you suggesting that it is in some way related to the matter of the stabbing on Briar Road?
I am.
What?
When put together with another piece of evidence already in the court record, I believe this tiny fragment of metal will unravel the whole truth of this case, my lord.
You appear rather confident in that extraordinary statement, Counsel. Very well then, present the pertinent evidence to the court. What evidence, when paired with this fragment of metal, allegedly reveals the truth of this entire case?
I am a defense lawyer. Check it out.
It's got my name on it. Actually, it's got Kazuma's name on it, because I stole it from him. I'm not really a lawyer.
Take that!
Wait, whoops.
The piece of metal pairs perfectly with the piece of metal.
You care to explain yourself?
Sorry. I was just thinking to myself, and it sort of slipped out.
Here in Great Britain, sir, gentlemen keep their thoughts to themselves.
Yes, of course. We do in the Empire of Japan as well, usually, too.
Then you shouldn't mind paying the price for shocking the court with that ludicrous outburst.
Shocking the court? You didn't even raise an eyebrow. We should be able to prove what this fragment of metal really is. The answer's in the court record somewhere, I'm quite sure. Yes, I know. I just hit the wrong one. Just chill. Just everyone chill. It's this one.
Take that!
I'm not stupid. I was just messing around. This is the knife that was found in the victim's back. If you look closely, you will see that there is a small piece at the tip of its blade that's missing.
Common issue with the inferior blades sold at unsavory street markets. Criminals who use them regularly leave the tips lodged in their victims' bodies. And what of this particular knife? No doubt its tip has suffered a similar fate, now languishing somewhere near the spine of the victim.
Objection!
No, that's not the case. The tip of this particular knife's blade is the very fragment of metal we discovered in the chamber of Mr. Garadeb's pipe.
Ah! Good grief. Lord Van Seeks,
I don't believe it.
the knife from this crime scene and this fragment of metal are a perfect match. Good golly gosh! Order! Is this some sort of Eastern sorcery? This is no magic, my lord. This is a miracle. A miracle?
So Van Zieks has figured it out, has he?
Counsel, explain this extraordinary coincidence at once.
Yes, my lord. The crucial point we have to ask ourselves here is when did the fragment of metal find its way inside Mr. Garadeb's pipe? Something that was clarified for us in the most recent witness testimony.
Had this thing in my hand as usual at the time of the onslaught. Knocked it clean out with one of her soft projectiles, she did, yes. It would never have been sent flying unless it was hit by something pretty solid. Oh, dear me.
During the argument between these two that occurred just as the victim was on the pavement below, Mrs. Garadeb flung this knife at her husband. However, the knife missed Mr. Garadeb, instead striking the pipe in his hand at the time.
Which caused the tip to break off, of course. Good lord.
Yes, and that is when the tiny tip of the blade found its way inside Mr. Garadeb's pipe.
The chances of that are 1,000,000 to 1.
And yet there's no other credible explanation for how the tip of the blade ended up in your pipe. Then, after losing its tip, the knife ricocheted off the pipe and flew out of the open window. In short, this knife, which fell from the window of the Garadeb's house, is the very same knife that struck the victim in the middle of the back on the street below.
Oh gosh. Oh dear. Oh no!
Objection!
A full-bodied theory, I'll give you that. A complex bouquet of seemingly trivial points, plausibly arranged to create an almost passable vintage. Allow me to toast my learned friend's characteristically Nipponese approach to bottling his argument. Sorry? But after all, it is just a theory. The bottle, I fear, is corked. Because you see, it's spoiled by an insurmountable inconsistency.
An insurmountable what?
Lord Van Zieks, explain yourself. What is this inconsistency you claim to have identified? An inconsistency of the simplest nature, my lord. The victim was found with the knife planted in the middle of her back.
Yes, in her...
That's right, you silly little man.
Now, Joan, old thing,
What are you getting so excited about? Let us consider the basic facts of the case once more. The victim was walking along the pavement before being stabbed in the back and falling to the ground. If the knife that struck her had fallen from above, there's no possible way it could have planted itself into the victim's back.
Yeah, except, you know, a book came out that we already know that she picked up, so she picked up the book and she was bent over and then she got stabbed.
Order!
Quite right, you see. That's exactly right. If the knife had fallen on her from above, it would have struck her on the top of her head. Well, I've solved the case. He's lost for words, look. I knew it. I never liked his theory in the first place. I don't know, though. What really did happen?
it appeared the defense has made rather a spectacular blunder.
If a theory has even one inconsistency, it cannot stand. Your theory, my learned friend, is history. If you like reasonable prosecutors, you gotta play the game with Simon Blackwell. We were so close. I could see the truth. I was so sure we were on the right track. But now the way has been blocked completely by just one simple inconsistency. Or in other words, we simply need to eliminate that one inconsistency and the theory will stand. Miss Susato, you mustn't worry, Mr. Nutherhood. You were just caught off guard, that's all, and then your mind went blank. But if the path you were on is indeed correct, then a way will present itself. The key to this is in the court record, I'm sure. All the information you need is there.
It seems you have nothing to say, my Nipponese friend. Your silence speaks volumes. A tacit acceptance that your theory is fatally flawed.
Objection!
Objection!
This inconsistency doesn't mean I was on the wrong track. It means that I need to sharpen my mind and dig deeper to the truth. It's a test. Oh, we have someone else here. Just a moment. Okay, you are now live on stream as well.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm streaming live right now. We're finishing case number 4 of The Great Ace Attorney. Which shouldn't take long. But, I don't know. If company presents themselves, we can have soccer after this.
Nice.
But whether they do or not remains to be seen.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yes! If the knife fell on the victim from above, there's no way that it could have hit her in the middle of her back. Under normal circumstances, that is.
What are you implying? Counsel?
There is a piece of evidence in the court record that can explain this inconsistency. That can explain how the knife that fell from above could have pierced the victim's back. We already have the answer.
Goodness. Utter madness. Surely this must be the last time. Counsel, present the evidence of which you speak.
This is the last inconsistency, the final piece in the puzzle. If I can successfully make sense of this, the truth will be laid bare at last. The evidence that explains how the falling knife became lodged in the victim's back is... just the book? Just the book, I think, not the photo. Just the book. I'm gonna go with
Take that!
this, the 4th book found at the scene. This is the final piece of evidence the defense will present.
The burnt book. Is that not Mr. Garadeb's book?
Yes. And to understand its significance, we will have to consider how it came to be at the scene in the first place. This photographic print clearly shows the book in question, and the victim holding it in her hand.
But as we all know now, it was the police constable that put the book between her fingers like that. Quite so. It was part of his wholesale transplanting of the crime scene to the opposite side of the road.
That's true. However, as part of his testimony, Constable Beat made an extremely enlightening statement at that point.
Hey, I'm here.
Good lord.
I just grabbed my phone. I'll be back in a second.
Came in loud as shit.
Yes, that's alright.
Turn you down a bit. Alright. But what made you place that book in the victim's hand? Ah, well, sir. That's because that's how I found it. When we first ran over to the scene, the victim was already holding the book. So, when I moved everything, I made sure it was still in her hand. In other words, the victim had already picked the book up of her own volition. And clearly, that must have been before she suffered the knife wound. Well, I should say so. But after being attacked with a knife, I don't imagine she'd have been doing much of anything. So the question becomes, why did the victim have that book in her hand? By jingo. Hey, we're finishing a case. I think I'm beginning to see what might have happened now. Oh, dearie me. We know that the book fell from the top floor of the Garadeb household onto the pavement below, at precisely the moment that the victim was walking past. Yes, at exactly that moment. The young woman was walking along the street in the light fog, when all of a sudden, a book fell right in front of her. The book I threw. Yes, Mrs. Garadeb. And what do you think the woman did? What would you do if you were walking along and suddenly a book landed in front of you on the pavement?
Died. Turn the other way and fucking fail.
She's still alive. But nice guesses. Well, I really can't imagine. But I suppose she might have reached down and picked the book up. Yes, that is exactly what the woman in fact did. She picked up the book. Oh, heavens! And when the woman reached down to pick the fallen book up, what position would her back have been in? That's right, facing the sky, completely and utterly defenseless. Then, in the very next moment, while the woman was still bent over picking up the book, the next object fell from the room above, the jackknife, straight into the middle of her back.
Did die.
And at that same time, walking by chance directly behind Mr. Green, was the defendant, Mr. Soseki Natsume. I never. It appeared to Mr. Natsume that the woman simply collapsed on the floor. In the dark and the fog, he didn't see the knife falling on her from above. Oh. And from the other direction, the constable and his wife saw no one but the victim and her apparent attacker. So there never was a real culprit to run from the scene in the first place. No, this is nothing more than a series of unlikely events that culminated in an unfortunate accident. And that is the real truth behind this case. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb. The very first time you showed me that knife, I had my suspicions. I wondered if perhaps it might have been something like that. There, old bean. Oh, Mrs. Garadeb. Of course, I never meant for anything of the sort to happen, but it was all my fault, wasn't it?
That's what happens when you throw knives out of windows.
No, it's perfectly reasonable. She's blameless. I take full responsibility. I let my anger get the better of me. I threw that book. And I threw the knife as well.
She needs a lawyer.
I am a lawyer. John, dear.
Like the
Maybe
tractors?
she should hire you to prove her innocence.
That's what I was implying.
It's alright, I know.
I'm ever so sorry. Truly. I'm sorry. What a struggle.
Wait, why is somebody gone from the jury?
Because she's one of the jurors.
Lord Van Zeeks, what news of Mrs. Garrett?
She's been taken to the infirmary. It would appear that today's events had left her in an especially flustered state.
However, I believe she will recover in due course. There is no cause for concern. Yes, unbeknownst to themselves, they caused what could easily have been a terrible tragedy. They have to prepare themselves for the consequences of their actions. There is some good news, however, my lord. I have just had word from the hospital where the victim is being treated. Her condition is improving steadily, and the doctor believes she will regain consciousness soon.
It's strange. We've been talking about the victim all this time, but we've never once met her. How wonderful. The woman is out of danger, it seems. Yes, that is good news. Naruhodo ne?
So, Mr. Soseki Natsume.
It's our client.
Yes!
Is Homeboy flashing gang signs in the court, by the way?
No, I really don't think he is. I think he's just adjusting his tie.
On behalf of my fellow
His
countrymen...
hands were out to his sides.
I don't know. It's just the thing.
On behalf of my fellow countrymen, I would like to take this opportunity to beg your pardon, sir. You came from your distant eastern homeland to study our great British culture, and have been repaid with immeasurable unkindness. Please accept our heartfelt apologies.
See, now I know this is a video game. No British man would ever be that fucking repentant.
Alright. Sure.
Okay, we're in, what, like the late 1900s? Late 1800s, early 1900s?
Everyone bad. No, it is me who should be begging your pardon. Oh no, Mr. Natsume. That evening, when the young woman just collapsed on the pavement before my eyes, I jumped to the wrong conclusion again in my confusion.
What conclusion, sir?
I was sure that the woman was dead. Yes, Constable Beat said the same thing, didn't he? He thought she'd been killed too. I suppose she must have looked completely lifeless. It's been about a year since I arrived in Great Britain now, but I still can't get used to life here. I can't relax. I'm sure there are evil spirits lurking in the fog, like they're haunting me. Poor Soseki-san. His imagination really has got the better of him. It's my stream, I'll say what I want.
How many people are watching your stream, by the way, Max?
Oh, you can count them on one hand.
Dang.
What's that supposed to mean?
Wait, are you like streaming on Twitch?
Yes.
What?
You've come way too late.
Yeah.
I did tag you 3 hours ago.
I was going out and getting drinks for the
Yeah, but you can't blame
Yeah,
me
sure.
for that.
Okay, sure.
Yes, poor man. So when it happened, I thought the young woman had been taken by the fog spirits. I should never have dropped my books like that and run away. I should have called for help. For a doctor. For the police.
He looks like he pulled like 6 things.
Yeah, he does that. He's an anxious sort of guy. Instead, I've managed to create a rift in the relationship of trust between our two empires. And for that, I am truly sorry.
Empires, yeah, this is definitely an empire level case.
Well, yes, he's an international migrant accepted into Britain on behalf of Japan. It is an international case.
One could indeed say that some sort of mischievous spirit has been at work here, I think. One that created a chain of unfortunate mishaps. We were befooled by this spirit and led to false conclusions. But thanks to Lord Van Zeeks and our young lawyer here from the east, that chain has now been broken and the spirit exorcised. I heartily commend you both.
Oh. Van Zeeks did his best.
Now then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury,
Yes, my lord.
in concluding this trial, I must ask one last time for your decisions regarding the defendant's culpability. Are you ready to present your findings to the court?
As the foreman of this jury, I can assure you we've reached a fair and just conclusion. I do declare the truth can be extremely cruel at times. Well, I didn't suspect the woman next to me, that's for sure.
Sitting in for the old bean while she's out of action, you know, but I know what her decision would be.
Does this mean I'll finally be able to get out of here and start work? It's about time.
I say, I'll have a corker of a story to tell the grandchildren when I get home, won't I? Very well, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. I hereby demand your final decisions. Mr. Foreman.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Easy clap.
Dang. Gaming on him.
Very well. Mr. Soseki Natsume, I hereby pronounce you not guilty.
Wait, so do they have just like that confetti in the ceiling?
I'm assuming so. Well, in the first game, it's Gumshoe that throws it. It's the detective. He makes confetti for your trials, and he brings it. Which is
Cute.
it's pretty great because he can't afford more than like ramen to eat for himself.
Wow.
That's yeah,
He's really
because he's
getting
spending all that
involved.
money making all that fucking confetti.
No, he is poor as shit.
So bad news for soccer. I have something in 20 minutes, so I'm not going to be able to finish an actual episode.
Well,
But I'll be on in like 3 hours, so
Did you guys? Oh, it is Saturday night, isn't it?
yeah, it's Saturday.
When did tank become the most popular role to raid on? I don't fucking like it.
Wow. Get ready.
And finally, Mr. Natsume.
oh yes, Lord Sir.
You are now a free man once more.
It is my hope that you will continue to further your education in British culture.
And may you never again be brought before me.
Yes, sir. Of course. On my life, I swear I'll never set foot in a courtroom again. I'm Transported to Cheers!
Thank you, councils. Court is adjourned.
th of February, 3:17 p.m. The Old Bailey. Defendant's antechamber. Oh, locum.
Wait, you mean me?
Of course! Is there another locum here?
Is there even one?
Compared to the original locum student, Mr. Nadahoda Esquire, your name has become rather short, hasn't it?
What's wrong with using my actual name?
Oh, at last. I'm free, I'm free. Joyful, joyous, jubilant jubilation. Heady, hearty happiness, hurrah! Oh, I am pleased. Mr. Natsume is delighted.
Would it be so hard just to say that, then?
Locum, you did it. You saved me from the brink.
Well, what happened to the poor woman who was in no way your fault, after all? I'm just glad everyone can see that now.
No, not that. Lovely, loyal locum lawyer.
Yes.
I mean, as I said before, I have just never gotten used to life here in Great Britain. Every time I look over my shoulder, I see foreigners. I see towering brick buildings. And from high up windows, I see them looking down on me, laughing. Look at that little hunchback.
Oh dear. I'm sure it's all in your head, Mr. Natsume.
But today, you locum lawyer gave my gloom the boot. You stood firm behind that baronial bench before all those babbling British. You battled to the bitter end, laying bare the baffling truth. And when I was beheld the blinding fireworks among the beams of the Bailey's roof, I bellowed, "Behold the best barrister ever born!"
That's very flattering, and we're very pleased for it.
This has given me a wonderful anecdote to recount to my old friends back in Japan.
An anecdote? Is that what's to become of all my hard work? There you are, my dear fellows.
I apologize for keeping you waiting. I rose late this morning.
Oh, Mr. Sholmes, what a pleasure to see you.
I see I am here not a moment too soon. A disaster has been averted, I'm glad to say.
Oh.
Can you deduce the disaster that's been averted?
The trial shall begin presently, Mr. Narahodo, and I wish you the very best of luck.
It's just finished.
What? No! Then my haste was in vain? Ah! It's you! Herlock Sholmes.
Hair lock.
Oh, have we met, sir?
This is Mr. Natsume, the man you had arrested, Mr. Sholmes.
Ah, I see. I failed to recognize you at first. Our previous encounters have taken place in the gloom, either of your bleak lodgings or that prison cell. I simply couldn't place that curious face in the light.
Charming.
This is all your fault. Herlock Sholmes! You're the reason I had to go through this terrible ordeal. I'm going to give you a piece of my mind.
Dang, this guy's really JoJo posing.
He is Japanese. Actually, Jojo's not Japanese, he's British.
My apologies, sir, but I assure you I have placed you now. You're the fellow who abandoned that poor young lady and ran off, aren't you? Had she been taken to hospital more urgently, I fear perhaps she would have regained consciousness by now.
Oh.
But it was unavoidable, I'm sure. We are but human, after all. Anyone would have been shaken by such an experience. I do feel very badly about how I behaved.
Well, never mind. Now then, what was it that you wanted to say to me, sir?
Nothing.
Priceless. Oh, I am sorry, really, but that was quite priceless. Pause a second. Still, on the bright side, you've had an extremely entertaining experience without paying a penny. And it would seem you were not even found guilty. But there is no bright side.
Whatever do you mean, Mr.
Only death
Natsume?
and darkness.
Even after this, I'm still cursed by the spirits, and now by the Reaper,
What?
Lord Van Zeeks. Lord, I haven't forgotten, you know, what facing that man in court means. Even if you're found not guilty, you're still doomed.
It will be all right, Mr. Natsume.
Hmm?
If the Reaper appears trying to make trouble, I will protect you.
Hiya!
With a perfectly
Dang,
executed
what'd that camera do to you,
takedown.
Susato?
Much as I like being turned on my head, a bit of warning might be nice next time, Mrs. Susato.
You just whipped him.
She do that. She Aikido trained, I guess. So, Mr. Natsume, what do you intend to do now? Yep, so anyone who faces off against the Reaper of the Bailey in court, even if they're found not guilty, dies within a month.
Oh shit.
You mentioned something about recounting your experiences to your friends back in Japan? Yes, I intend to return to my homeland soon. Oh. It has already been a year since I arrived here in the Great Britain. I visited universities, libraries, bookshops. I've been honored with the tutelage of professors. I've learned so much about the wealth of literature here, and the city it has shaped. And I've come to realize that it is my calling to sail home and tell my fellow countrymen about it. That's very touching, Mr. Natsume. Or, in perhaps less veiled terms, you wish to withdraw halfway around the world to escape the terror of the Reaper's curse? That's not it at all! The more I learn of literature, the more this strange feeling claws at my insides. I feel compelled to return to my roots and attempt to pen a work of my own. I see. A work of literature by Soseki-san. Could be an interesting read. And what about Miss Susato and yourself, Mr. Naruhodo? Sorry? What about us? Will you return to Japan alongside your mustached compatriot? Why would we? A week has not yet passed since we arrived in London. And now, only now, does it feel as though we have finally found our feet. And you are accommodated in a hotel at present, are you not? That's right, but we need to find lodgings before it bankrupts us. I've calculated we can only afford another 10 nights before our entire budget is exhausted. Well then, you can take my lodgings. Oh, the windowless room? But what it lacks in windows, it more than makes up for with a floor, a ceiling, and walls. Great. And of course, I'd be happy to leave behind the accursed evil spirit. Oh my, an evil spirit. Oh yes. It tries to suffocate you while you sleep. It's an infallible wake-up call.
Oh, it's a cat.
We'll think about it, if that's alright. I don't know. Perhaps I could offer a more welcome alternative. Would you consider taking lodgings with me? Really? Well, a vacancy has conveniently presented itself. Though it is up in the attic, I must add. Are you sure it isn't just a storage loft? I spoke with the landlady this very morning on the matter of price, and Iris is cleaning the room as we speak. You must come at once. I presume you have no luggage to speak of? Oh, this is simply wonderful. What an honor to be invited to take lodgings in the great detective's office's attic. I'm too overcome for words. So suggesting we look elsewhere is out then it's settled. Iris will prepare a welcome dinner this evening. And you must come too, Mr. Natsume. I insist. I don't know what to say, but thank you, and yes. Wonderful. Then I'll go and complete the paperwork for your formal release, Mr. Natsume. It shan't take long. Somebody's happy. Locum, I knew that you wouldn't let me down. I'm truly delighted to have met you here in London. Likewise, Mr. Natsume. It's been a privilege meeting you too. It's a shame that we're going to have to say goodbye so soon. Well, I've come to realize that I belong in Japan. But Locum, we'll meet again one day. Yes, I'm sure. And hopefully by then I'll be a successful lawyer. Hopefully by then I'll be a successful author. Well, my dear fellow, our carriage appears to have arrived. Shall we go, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, Mr. Shomps. I have little doubt Mr. Natsume will be released in time for dinner this evening. And so, with Soseki-san's innocence successfully established, we rode with Mr. Shomps to what was to become our new home, 221B Baker Street.
Jeez, they're in the place.
And that'll do for now.
Nice.
We solved the mystery. Mr. Natsume is presumably alive. He could die in the next scene. I don't know. He's lived longer than our last client. I'll give him that much.
That's pretty good, I guess.
It's all that we can
How
really
many
hope for.
cases are in this game?
Depends on what you mean by this game. It's a collection of a few games, but this particular part of the game is like 6 cases. This is case number 4. And then we got a whole other game after this with, I think, 7 cases.
Gotcha, okay.
It does that sort of thing.
All I know. You really want to. This is all I know. You really want to get into it? I recommend a Steve with a headband. Like,
All right. Well, that's gonna call it for now. I'll see you guys later. Yeah, Alien might happen another time. I don't know.
All I know. 1, 2, 3.
Wait, another alien?
There are 2 more.
Oh,
No.
I didn't know that we were gonna.
No, we're not doing that. Alien Isolation.
What's that one?
It's a video game with an alien in it. It's quite good. I've been streaming it,
Oh, that's
and I have people requesting me to keep streaming it.
nice.
All right. See you later.
Yeah, I'm going. See ya.
Have a good night.